Hey guys, and welcome back to Remove Before Race. Behind me are sitting the two cars that I've come to collect today. They are two old AMGs, but two of the best modern ones ever. And we are here today at Sandown Mercedes-Benz of Guildford. Yes, those same lunatics who build the Brabus that we test here in the UK. Now, although today's video is about two personal car purchases that I've made, the reasoning that led me to those purchases is something that a lot of us petrol heads are feeling in today's market. And to talk about that, I want to show you an awesome new AMG that's sitting over here. Right guys, follow me this way. This is the Brabus corner here at Guildford, but they've got a very relevant standard AMG. And it's a review that you guys loved on the channel. It's the new GLC C63 S, but this of course is in its facelift form. Now, the current market of cars has an inherent problem where every single car is becoming quieter, not because the manufacturers don't want to make them louder, but because of new laws and regulations, mainly in the EU and China, that are forcing manufacturers to make cars like this sound quieter. So when we tested the original one that you guys loved, that black car, it sounded so loud and brutal, didn't it? But the facelift, because of laws, sounded quieter. So a very similar car, if not better in the facelift version, but as far as that AMG element of sound and the pure passion you get from turning the key and hitting the accelerator, it's just lessened, and it's going to lessen in the future. And I think all of us, we're all afraid of an electrified and a small displacement future. And that thinking, that almost fear, is what led me to two of the best AMGs. And it's in fact two cars that I've returned to, two cars that I used to own. So we're going to start with the first one here. Without further ado, here it is. Yes, indeed, it is the W205 C63 S pre-facelift Edition 1 Motorsport. This car was, of course, influenced by the C63 DTM. We're going to go into real detail of why I went for this and not the new one. And now for the second one. This is more surprising. That is indeed a Gen 1 A45, the original, the loud one. And these are the two cars that we're going to be talking about today. Not only are they two of the best value AMGs that you could ever buy, but they are also two of the best things to come out of a Falterbach in modern history. So let's take these cars back to my driveway and discuss what makes them such brilliant AMGs. Oh man, it's freezing. One sec, I'll be right back. That's better. Right, let's first get rid of the A. In fact, if we're going to talk about keeping AMGs for long term and the best classic AMGs, one always has to start, in my opinion, with a W204 C63. And what W204 C63 is better than the Black Series itself? So this car has always been the quintessential AMG for me. Why? Because it's not from ground up like SLS or GT. It's based first and foremost on a Mercedes-Benz. You shoehorn a gigantic 6.2 litre engine in it with track focus changes, specifically in the Black Series, and you wind up with a car that looks and drives like nothing else on the road, despite being based on a normal series production car. It was that same thinking that gave birth to legends like the original AMG, the Red Pig based on the S-Class, or the AMG Hammer based on the E-Class of its time, both legends that were just standard cars but taken by AMG and made exceedingly capable and iconic. And this C63 Black Series, much like the rest of the 204 C63s, fits in that same category. It's around about 500 brake horsepower, all going to the rear wheels, which is signature AMG, and it's just enough power to be able to enjoy on normal roads daily. And of course, this car had that monstrous 6.2 litre engine that is still used today in the AMG GT3 racing car. That's how capable this engine is and how bloody good it sounds. So So the Black Series, a worthy first entrant to my long-term car collection that I got a few years ago, but now to a car that I think is perhaps better than the Black Series in almost every single discernible area, and that is the W205 C63 S Coupé. Now the question arises, why did I buy the pre-facelift over the newer car? Well, fact is I actually bought the newer car first. Now of course the new C63 S, as we discovered, has much better suspension than the pre-facelift one. It's got the new digital interior, it's got the AMG drive control unit, it's got AMG dynamics, and all round it's pretty much a better car. Now the new C63 S is of course quieter in every area because of new noise regulations, the OPF filter, etc. But I didn't have a major problem with that because it is still all round a better car. My issue came when I heard that the final version of the new C63, which was due to be called a C63R or maybe a Black, had been cancelled at AMG. And furthermore, we heard the rumour that the next C63 is actually going to be a 4-cylinder. And that's the news that tipped me over, that I need to have my favourite version of the C63 in its best possible guise, and that to me is the Edition 1 Motorsport. Now, those old viewers of the channel remember that I used to own this car at one point. You would have seen it in the E63 video. In fact, let's have a quick flashback. I just want to show you what my face looked like at the point where I was selling this car. And I was trying to convince myself that it was a good idea.
I'm picking up a new car. Why do I look sad? Because I always get a little bit emotional when I give back a car that I love a lot.
Oh, you silly, silly boy. I should never have sold it, but I managed to find another one, and here it is, Edition 1 Motorsport C63 S. Now when this car first came out, the shift from the 6.2 litre to the 4 litre had us all worried that it was going to sound bad. But we now call this one the loud one. Just listen to this beast roar. And that is just idle and revving on standstill. The real party trick is when you actually drive the car, and there is a big video coming where we will compare this C63 to the Black and the facelift. That's a treat for you guys later. Now, this C63 S was special because it was more dynamic than any other C63 before it. And that was thanks to the fact that it had the dynamic engine mounts, just like the AMG GTR has, for the first time in a C63, and generally it was just a more dynamic car. That engine, again, producing 510 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 of 3.8 seconds, which is on par with the AMG GTS. So it's just perfect. It's just enough for normal roads. And there's a sweet spot in around about, I think, the decade of 2008 to 2018, where we just had enough modern technology inside cars, just enough power. We weren't going to stupid numbers like 600-700 brake horsepower that are simply just not usable or enjoyable on normal roads. Most cars within that decade, in my opinion, were just perfect. They were the sweet spot, and I think the C63 S Coupé for AMGs is that sweet spot. The 4-litre engine is of course also shared with the AMG GTR, and like the previous Black Series, this C63 S Coupé has a unique wide front end and a unique rear with wide arches, unlike the standard series car, in the same way the Black Series used to have as well. So you're getting essentially a real successor to that car with even the standard version of this. Now the pre-facelift, it's a little harsher in its suspension, so it feels a bit more track car, and I kind of actually like that. Now we'll go into everything about this car when we do that big video. Now I actually bought this car from Alexander's Prestige up north, and I received it like this. So we had quite a bit of restoration work to do. First I wanted the multi-spokes, so we got those from AMG along with the stripes that came standard on the Motorsport Edition. If you're wondering why this car has the stripes, it's because it was based on the C63 DTM car, hence why it has that livery and the twin bar grille on the front. Apart from that, we also attended to keeping the paint safe, because this is Magno paintwork. It's satin and you have to protect it. So we went to the boys at Deb Customs, and unlike the screen protector kit form that most other companies do, these boys actually wrap around the edges so you can never see that there's PPF on this car. I can't stress to you just how brilliant it is, and if any of you owners in the UK want to see it, please do come and have a look. We also had F1 wax supplies, F11 wax across the entirety of the PPF to give it as much hydrophobic qualities as possible. So that's a tip for you guys for keeping especially Magno paintwork safe for the duration, because I want to keep this car long term. Now we also attended to the inside of the car. Our friends at Proto Trim, who are the guys who do all the seats and interiors for the Singer Porsche vehicles, helped me restitch an OEM driver's seat direct from Mercedes AMG. So we have a fresh driver's seat. I also got brand new driver door card thanks to MB Guildford. So there was a lot of hands that came into this car to make it a reality. I also want to show you this awesome case from Rock Studio, which matches the finish of the car. Look at that, even with the carbon ceramic brakes. So you can see this is the actual car paint from the car, magnoselenite grey, sprayed by one man, hence why the product is called One Man, One Case. Actual car vinyl as well, and it gives it the actual finish. And the final change was changing the tyres that came on the car, which were Conti's, to the Michelin Pilot Super Sports. Now these were developed specifically for the C63 S, and I cannot stress just how good these are in the dry and in the wet compared to the competition, and how much longer they last. I mean, I get easily over 10,000 miles on these with very varied AMG addict style driving. So these are absolutely fantastic tyres to have on the C63 S. Now I'm thinking of maybe giving it some facelift upgrades, something perhaps like this, maybe even the pan grille on the front, but I'm just not sure whether I want to share a face with a GLB 35. Listen, you guys comment down below. Should I make those changes to this car? Comment below and we'll talk about it. Now next, this is perhaps the more surprising one. Let's talk about the first generation A45 that I've bought. Now a lot of people have asked me, why the pre-facelift, why not the facelift? You're going to see a trend here. It's all coming back down to sound. And the pre-facelift is the loudest A45 we have ever had and will ever have, because the pre-facelift just did not have as much exciting sound. I think it was done on purpose. That's a topic for another day. Have a listen. How brilliant does that sound? That sounds better than the majority of AMGs that we have today. And even if that's, perhaps you don't agree with it, it is at least very, very rally car sounding. I love the sound of this original car. And just like the C63 S, that pales in comparison to what this sounds like on the road. So I promise I will get you a full proper video on this car. We'll decide what format that will be to make it super interesting for you guys. Now, every great stable needs a great hot hatch. And while the A45S is a sports car in the compact segment, as AMG call it, it truly is, that's not necessarily what makes a great hot hatch. Now, the original A45, well, it was a disruptive product. It entered the market and it forced the competitors to up their power and up their game just generally, because this car was so fun, loud and powerful compared to everything else. And because of that, we got the RS3 becoming even more powerful and cars like the M2 really upping the game. So this was truly a disruptive product in the market at that time. But of course, just like the C63 going to the 4 litre, we were all worried, why are AMG making a hot hatch? But from the first turn of the key, you understood that this was a proper AMG. It had a 0 to 60 of about 4 seconds, 360 brake horsepower. That was truly, truly usable on the roads, and it was just one of the most fun point and go cars with that signature AMG soundtrack. In fact, this was the first car to truly test out the modern AMG sound that we all recognize today. It was the A45, and that's why it still sounds so bloody good, because it was completely unhindered in that department. Now, I told you about the power, but did you know that this engine was actually the one that gave birth to the C63 S AMG GTR Aston Martin V8 that is used so widely today? It was two of these engines in a V setup that created the 4 litre V8 later, in layman's terms anyway. So a very special engine. It still used a twin scroll turbocharger, just like today's A45S or E63S, so you hardly have any lag. And again, it's in that sweet spot. A hot hatch doesn't need 400 plus brake horsepower to be really fun and thrilling, and that's what this car proved back then, and that's what it still, in my opinion, proves today. Yes, it's not got drift mode, yes, it's got a bit of understeer, but that's not what you have a hot hatch for. You have a hot hatch to have a bloody good time in, and this is one of the best. Now, I really like the looks of the pre-facelift as well. You're thinking, why does this particular one look so bloody awesome? It's because, of course, it doesn't have the standard wheels on it. This has the A45S wheels. That's thanks to my friends Kunzman Auto House in Germany who very kindly supplied me these, probably the first on the road. You need to visit them for any of your genuine OEM Mercedes and AMG parts. They have the best customer service, and as you can see, they get stuff really early. So that's really helped the look of the car. I'm also thinking, do I put maybe the facelift rear diffuser on this? I think that'll look pretty good. Again, guys, comment below. I'm also thinking, do I speak to our friends at Brabus and get a bit of a power upgrade to the 400 brake horsepower? Now, I'm going against what I just said when I said 360 was enough, but more horsepower can't be bad. I'm just contradicting myself now. I'm also going to be putting the Michelin PS4 S tyres onto this car in summertime, and we're going to see how that changes the ride, because those were made specifically for the A45S. One super cool change that we made inside, thanks to Rock Studio, is the AMG Performance steering wheel that is now finished in the same material as the SLS Black Series, black Dynamica with red Dynamica, and it's changed the entire ambiance of the interior. It looks absolutely fantastic. If you guys want to do that, their details are in the description box below. Both of these cars I picked up with around about 8,000 miles on the clock. You can pick up an A45 first gen today for around about 25k and a C63 S Coupé for around about 50, and bang for buck in both of those regards is just incredible if you're an AMG addict. So I really recommend you guys, if you trust anything I say about AMGs, get one of these. You won't regret it. They're just such fun AMGs to drive and really embody the spirit of AMG in a really reasonably priced package. Now, as a tradition of picking up any AMG, be it new or old, you must sign up at the AMG Private Lounge, and then you put one of these stickers on your windshield to show that you're a member. You don't need a new AMG to do it. All you need is an AMG. Put in your VIN number and join the rest of us owners on the forum. You get exclusive prizes, access to events, and all kinds of things. I really recommend, as an AMG owner, that you do this. So guys, to conclude, the car market is really a changing place at the moment, with cars like the great RS5 going from a V10 to a V6, news of the next C63 possibly being a 4-cylinder, and all around every single new car becoming quieter. And then you look at shows like the Frankfurt Motor Show, completely dominated by EVs, and then the existence of cars like the Tesla Cybertruck. It's a sign to all of us petrol heads of the past, unfortunately, that if you have a car that you love, from an era that you love, you need to go and get it. And I can't stress that enough to not just AMG fans, but fans of all car brands. Find the cars you love, go and buy them, and go and drive them, because we have gone past the peak of great performance cars into a now different future that we all just have to accept. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this first look at both of these cars. You're going to see big videos on them later. I really enjoyed showing you the new additions to my personal collection. So if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Share the video with your petrolhead friends if you agree with me. And now I'm going to enjoy both of these cars, or give you a little bit more sound. I think I need a helper. I know what to do. You take that one in.
All right, cool, yeah.
Okay.